Hey, Mike here with Canadian Musician. Right now, in some building, Strut Entertainment in downtown Toronto. With me, excited to have Myer Clarity, iLLvibe together. New album out called We Are the Aliens. And guys, how you doing? How's the day been going?
Get your elbow off my desk.
Nowhere to put it.
I'm just kidding. We're feeling great. It's great to be here. We're having a fun time.
This is my first interview in detention, so I appreciate you coming all the way down to detention to ask us some questions.
In this, I don't know what this kind of room is in that.
Breakfast clubby, I feel like. You know what I mean?
Breakfast clubby?
Like,
Yeah,
you've
definitely.
been stuck here for the summer to get extra credits.
Which one am I? I'm the misunderstood kid.
Oh, no.
I haven't seen that movie in ages.
we're too young to get
I
it.
can't remember any of their names. Anyways, of course. Well, let's start off by talking about the collaborative album you guys got going on. We Are the Aliens. Myer, I know you produced a track on iLL's album Firebreather. I think it was a couple years ago. That would have been. Is that where this started? Was that the first time you guys collaborated, and did this new album stem from that?
Pretty much, yeah. We started off with that track. That one had been largely produced already, and he had heard it and really liked it. And then stemming from there, we started working together more and more. He came over one day and wanted something custom made, so we were just going to workshop it together in the studio. And he liked my production, and I liked the workflow we had, and so we just slowly started building a full-on project together. It just started, here's a song I produced for him. Oh, here's another song I produced for him. Oh, you want to be on the song as well? And then that just turned into, let's do an album together, So that was fun.
iLL, for you, what was it about your, because, as a hip-hop artist, lyricist, the producer's going to have a huge impact on your vibe. Excuse the pun. No, but the producer's going to have a huge impact on you. It's important, obviously, that you have a chemistry there, and what he's producing for you is inspiring you. So what was it about Myer's work that was like, yeah, this can be more than a one-off?
The thing with Myer is he comes with two things. The first one is he brings that youthful energy because he's into punk and this resurgence of 90s stuff, and he's a little bit younger than me, and so I love the idea about working with a somewhat younger producer and all the influences that he brings, you know what I mean? And second is he's a hit maker. In addition to producing beats, every hook idea he ever pitches me over one of the beats is magic. And every time he's like, I want to hear my new single, it's magic. And so at some point during one of our tours, we had one or two beats, and it's just like, oh, let's do way more of these, because it's occurring to me that he might be one of the best producers in the country. And so what can I do to be a part of, selfishly, what can I do to be a part of that? And also we're becoming really good friends, so let's just keep making music. So it's kind of greedy that I just want all the Myer Clarity beats, that's part of it. And part of it is just that I'm a fan of his music. So whenever I play a show with somebody I become a fan of, I reach out to them to collab or co-write a song, or that's, just as a fan, it's fun to play a show with someone and be like, they're dope. Like Dean Risco. I played a show in LA with Dean Risco, sat in the back just like, who is this guy? He's a legend. I'm so hyped to even see this. And my first question was, how can I do a song with you? And now he's on We Are the Aliens on a song, Come Too Far. And that's just, as a music fan, I think it's just the fun way to do it, Yeah,
totally. Essentially, within this collaboration, what was the process? Are you coming up with the beats, then are you going away with the beat, writing the lyrics? Are you matching pre-written lyrics to beats? Essentially, was there what was the norm that you guys fell into, if there was one, as far as how the songs are coming together?
Well, we shifted it around a little bit. So initially, for the first thing we produced, which turned out to be Legends, he came over and, wait, is that right? Yeah, you came over for that, and we were working on the bass line and everything. Yeah. So that one, we just both sat down, and he was telling me what he liked and what he didn't like. And then he told me he wanted, a lot of similar beats of sort of a weird nature. So I went in, I looked through some beats, and I sent him a folder of all the weirdest stuff I had, and he picked what he liked.
I think that turned into 3 more songs from the album.
Exactly. And then from there we switched it up, and we just started customly crafting everything. So I would show him a couple beats. I would be like, oh, this is unfinished. What do you think of this? And then we'd build it from there. A couple times I would just play something on the keyboard, and he liked it, so we built something out of that. And so it was different for each song. But then around the end of the album is when I started adding extra touches to the production. So I got my session guitarist in, this guy Ethan Pounds, who's really talented. I got my friend Callie to sing some vocals. I got my homie Jake to lay down some keys on a couple of the songs. And I just, spent a couple weeks just crafting, adding extra layers on top.
Ill, for you, at what point are you trying to get it all down in one go? Are you essentially you're doing verse by verse, kind of piecing it together? Like, from your perspective, how is it all coming together?
The important part for this album for me was coming off of Firebreather, which was really the only project I ever put out that I felt really happy with. We were trying to elevate that. And one of my favorite beats from that album, which you already touched on, was Ride Out, produced by Myer. So even when we started this, the whole point was I thought he could bring out the best out of me. That was even the idea. So there was no point rushing through stuff, trying to nail it in a single sitting. That's no longer the energy. We're at a spot now where there's platforms available to us. We're performing on international festivals and we're touring. So what's the best song we could possibly make? And then let's make 10 more of those. And so we really were focused on quality. To what you said about putting the album together, in the beginning it was kind of random because we were just almost like we just had this idea, so we just whatever happened. But there was a tipping point where we realized we had a hit album on our hands. We had 3 or 4 really great songs, and so we went into the studio to finish the album. So here's the 4 or 5 that we have. What are we missing? We need something a little darker. We need something a little heavier to balance out Down to Earth, for example. And then we kind of got into album mode, and then, like he said, he started playing with arrangements, and all of a sudden 2-minute songs turned into 7-minute songs, and it kind of became this beast.
That's interesting that you said you had the 3 or 4 that you felt were like hit songs, and then you wanted to expand it into album. You use the term album mode. More and more artists I talk to, particularly in the realms of hip hop, R&B, that kind of stuff, is doing the single based thing, just kind of putting out singles as they have them done, rather than, and at some point maybe, after 10 singles or whatever, maybe they'll compile them and release them again as an album package. But so many artists I'm talking to are saying, like, I don't really feel the need to do an album in this day and age with this technology, this the way the industry is working now. I'd rather just be constantly putting out singles and staying top of mind. For you guys, why then? Why was it important, or why was your vision to have it as an album rather than just like, hey, let's just keep putting out songs?
It's more fun that way.
Yeah.
We wanted to make an album, The single thing, I think a lot of what happens with the single thing is they do make an album, but they just release it one single at a time to try to build traction for it. That's what I'm doing with one of my personal projects as well. Yeah. But for this, it was so concept driven that to just do one song, I feel wouldn't really do it justice. We needed exactly. We needed like a full front to back kind of experience. And we just really wanted to dive into the world of aliens, Martians, outer space. So we can't just really do that with one song. Let's give them like a full ride through like what we're thinking, what we're like, the weird side, and
a balanced breakfast.
Yeah, a balanced breakfast, which nutritionally speaking, everyone knows is about 13 songs long.
It is,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, and there we go.
Exactly. One skit, one intro. One epic long song and 2 or 3 really short songs, and that's a balanced breakfast.
Myer, I've seen you say at some point, essentially on this album, it'll let you just geek out on the alien thing, the interstellar thing. Is that something is that like a shared interest, passion that you guys have? Was that, was this concept, this alien, outer space concept there from the start?
Now, we aren't those guys who like watch alien documentaries all day. We're not those dudes. Like,
you're not watching Ancient Aliens on Netflix?
No, I mean, I do, but not for the reasons that they intend.
Not till they sponsor me.
Yeah. Hey, although I am about the Ancient Aliens sponsorship, so let's chat. But we're not like that. It's not so much this like we watch alien autopsy documentaries. We're not those guys. It's more about like we felt that at first it fit who we already are in the business. Like we go to places and they don't always get his punk rock hip hop thing. It doesn't like we have to kind of explain it, or once they see him perform, they go, "Oh, now I see it." And literally, one of my biggest songs is called "Weirdo" because I'm so used to playing a show and people don't know what to do with me until I perform. And so when we started putting this together, and it automatically the way he produces and the way I write, it's just slightly to the left of what everyone's doing. it just fit. The title fit right away. And then the more we thought about it and we started talking, well, how much of this do we want to be about aliens or just be in the vibe of just us being these different musicians? And I think we found like a really cool balance of those things. So if you are really into aliens, you're going to love this because it's the best rap album that features aliens. If you don't dig aliens, there's still a whole bunch of records that have nothing to do with aliens that just have that slight to the left feel of what you might get from your next favorite Toronto rapper.
You mentioned the extensive international touring you've done. It reminds me of recently, an artist who's very, very stylistically different from you, Miranda Mulholland. Speaking to her recently, she's been doing a lot of work in the area of advocacy for musicians' rights, compensation, that kind of stuff. Really challenging notions around the digital realm and how artists are being compensated now. And she had mentioned, one of the misconceptions in the digital age is like, oh, what you lose in recorded music income you can make up in touring. And Miranda was saying, and she's a violinist, again, is not and doesn't really work in the hip hop realm, but she's like, it's not a fair playing field touring internationally. It's not fair for women who have children. It's a different thing for them, and it's also very different for hip hop artists. She's like, there's not the same touring infrastructure in Canada for a hip hop artist that there is for a folk artist or an indie rock band. As a hip hop artist who has toured extensively, I'm wondering what your perspective is on that. What are the challenges? Essentially, is Miranda right in her perception of that or her impression of that? What have you seen as far as the infrastructure or lack thereof in Canada for hip hop artists?
I would say, well, off the bat, yeah, I would say she's onto something. Yeah. Especially, touring is difficult. So when she mentions, single parents, not even single parents, parents at all. Yeah. If you've got a job that isn't understanding and that's where you make your money. There's a lot of limitations to touring because the paper that you're getting on the road, I have friends who tour much of the year and they're getting $100 or $200 a show, and so in a lot of cases, I'll book a show in Sarnia or London and then, because I get the show because of my reputation, someone recommends me to the venue manager or whatever, and then he finds out it's a rap show, canceled. Really? So not every time by any means, but often enough that it's a thing. You know what I mean? So especially here in Canada, it's tough and there's not a lot of money in it. Now, in saying that, we're really lucky to get generous contributions from SOCAN, the SOCAN Foundation, Factor. Every time we go international and play a showcase, they fund that. So it's not about the money. The money's taken care of. We're out there trying to land, publishing deals and meeting with booking agents and trying to get on bigger festivals and grow the brand. So it's a gift and a curse in that, yes, we're not able to tour as extensively as a folk rock band who can go play Kingston and make $600 a show because people just want to come out and see folk rock. Yeah. We don't have that. Yeah. But being from Canada, I do not want to complain because I meet rappers from all over the world who have nothing. There's no ladder to help them up. Yeah. It's just, you don't have a hit, screw you. Mm-hmm. Here in Canada, it's not about at least getting this government funding. It's not about having a hit. It's about doing your business properly and being about your business and doing what you said you were going to do and building your name and marketing yourself properly online and all those little things. Yeah. And then they kick you a little bit of funding, which is beautiful. Yeah. Now, Aliens was completely self-funded, but when we were in Europe pitching it, we both received grants from Factor for that. And presumably from SOCAN, I'm waiting to hear. But so I got a lot of love for those organizations, and they make it a lot more realistic and reasonable to tour. I just got booked for a festival in Germany, Reeperbahn in September, and we're going to apply for some more Factor funding. So fingers crossed. Bless my Factor people. I love you. I'm out.
I guess on that note, was it 2015? You were named in the runner-up to Only Drake in Now Magazine's.
And now they killed that category. It's gone. Really? So forever.
Why was it just becoming known as the Drake category, or what? No.
They killed all of the band favorite comedian favorite. They killed those ones. But so this is the important part. I will forever be the second biggest rapper from Toronto. Just I want that to be clear.
Just to clarify for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about.
Now, 2015 forever.
Now Magazine has an annual poll or awards, whatever you want to call it. It's 2015. 200,000 people voted, and iLLvibe was the runner-up to Only Drake as Toronto's best hip-hop artist. And anyways, I was trying to remember even where I was going with that before.
The important part is it's forever.
Oh yeah, okay. The fact that you are a proudly Toronto artist.
Yes.
Obviously, Drake being no smart part of it, but there's also the Weeknd. The people around them like Noah 40 Shabib. Tasha the Amazon is also rising up and getting attention, and of course yourself. Toronto's getting a reputation internationally as, one of the hip hop meccas. There was always LA, New York, Atlanta, that kind of stuff. But, Toronto's reputation has risen substantially over the last few years. I'm wondering if in that international perception when you're, outside the country, is there kind of Toronto and then the rest of Canada? It's kind of like, Toronto's its own thing and that's a hip hop place, but the rest of Canada is still seen as kind of backwoods to the hip hop community.
Yeah.
As a Montrealer, you can speak.
As a Montrealer, I can't speak. Well, it's Toronto. Like, everyone knows Toronto now. Yeah. It's become the new hub. Montreal also gets some play. Yeah. People sort of see it as like a Canadian Amsterdam, just for like the jazz festival and hookers. And then there's also Vancouver, which gets a lot of play. People know about Vancouver just because it's like our California a little bit. So yeah, those are like the three big ones, and then pretty much no one knows anything else about Canada. Even we're lucky to even get like Vancouver and Montreal. I
think
there.
Sunreal is in the midst of really putting British Columbia on, just in the sense of, I think if you ask an American or somebody in Europe to name Canadian cities, some of them can name Vancouver, but they don't know anybody from there. None of their favorite rappers are from there. In some cases, you might get a Swollen Members fan from 10 years ago, but that's about it. And there's a lot of great rappers there, don't get me wrong. Same thing with Montreal. But internationally, they don't have that recognition yet. For the first time on this last tour, I'm hearing some of my American homies be like, oh, have you heard of Sunreal? And it's like, yes, of course I've heard of Sunreal. And it's cool that they are starting to see him as one of the cool upcoming artists. Yeah. And being from Vancouver, they're about to get a little of that love that Toronto just got. And there's so many artists over there that have been waiting for that spotlight. Yeah. And I've been saying, and I'd like to say it now on camera and on microphone, it's overdue and been overdue for a Montreal superstar. Mm-hmm. It's a cool city. Everywhere in the world they know about it. Yeah. Everybody knows a little bit about how cool it is. He left Montreal, so it can't be him. But Montreal's been overdue, and I think we're going to see it happen in the next couple of years.
Hold on.
You can go back.
What about Kaytranada?
I know the name, and I know he's doing well, but I still don't think.
And there's Kid Koala, but again, he's not a superstar.
Shout out to Kid Koala, too.
There are great superstars from both those cities.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that Drake and Tory Lanez have made Toronto the hub, I think
Kaytranada is gonna do it. Yeah.
And Arcade Fire did that in the indie rock realm, but you're right. There hasn't been a hip hop artist that's done it for Montreal.
I can just see it.
Hasn't been a rapper.
Yeah.
That's what they need. There's no rappers from Montreal.
What's the scene like then? Do you see people? Do you see?
Well, yeah. I mean, between like racist venue owners that just use like hip hop as an excuse to, it's like hip hop, but they're just straight up being racist 90% of the time. There's that, and then it's very limiting because in terms of funding, unless you're a French group, you're not really going to get any funding from the Quebec government because they're trying to preserve their culture. It's a little bit of a dying culture. So they just want to like make sure that it stays around.
What a jaded perspective on Montreal you paint.
Yeah, I know. I love Montreal. I'm just talking about the
basically it's racism and anti-Anglocism.
Yeah.
So Myer said it. I didn't say any of these things. I said this.
You heard it here first. You all were thinking it. No, it's a wonderful place to live, and it's got so much artistry in it. I always say that Montreal has like so much of the talent and unfortunately not enough of the infrastructure. Just seeing so many artists that come out of Montreal, it's just like it's like a creative place. It's like a breeding ground for just all the most weird talented people, but unfortunately on the business end it's a little bit lacking, which is why I moved to Toronto. And I just want to see Montreal elevated to that level. It's a great city and it deserves a lot of recognition that it's
way better
not getting.
Right. Oh, good. I like that part.
That's my piece. That's all I'm saying. Before I put my foot in my mouth.
You're going to be stopped at the border next time you go. And no, anyways, guys, before I wrap up here, as far as live plans, what are the plans? Are you guys taking this album out on the road together?
Well, we're doing something August 3rd at the Smiling Buddha. So that is going to be our unofficial little delayed release party. So we're going to be rocking out with a couple fellow aliens. We're going to be doing a bunch of the tracks off the album. Other than that, we're sort of in talks with a couple bookers, a couple promoters around Canada to see what we can stitch together. We do want to bring this album out, globally. So we're just sort of seeing where the cards lay for that, but August 3rd is our primary focus for now.
Oh, guys, again, iLLvibe Myer Clarity.
That's him.
New album is called We Are the Aliens. Guys, thanks a lot for this. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Cheers, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers, man.